Hey everybody, welcome to episode 146, coming at you on a Friday of Tactical Crouch. Kickedtripod here with Yiska and Volamel. Are those new headphones, Yiska?
No. I had those for a while.
Cool.
I think I asked the same thing last show.
I don't really pay attention during the intros.
That's fair.
Just like most of our viewers. Give me timestamps, they say. Give me timestamps.
Is it the lighting? I think what was
True.
why? Because I very vividly remember like coming to that same conclusion, like, oh, I've never noticed those headphones. Like, are those new?
Well, he got
Like, it
them
seems really weird.
relatively.
Yeah, it's like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks.
Oh, okay. Huh. Well,
I also realized if I wear them for too long,
Camera's trouble. There we
I
go.
get headaches. So sometimes I switch them out for NES.
Oh, really?
Well, you get headaches from these?
Yeah.
I'm the other way
Squeezing his head.
around.
Hmm.
I'm like,
Nah,
I'm
it's
waiting.
pressure on
So
my wide face.
my day-to-day headphones are my AirPods Pro because they're like wireless and super convenient, but I don't really love in-ears. But the microphone is so good on them compared to any other pair of wireless headphones that I really can't like use anything less, even though I think that there's probably some more comfortable ones out there, especially on the over-ear ones. Apple's rumored to come out with the AirPods Studios, which are going to be like their wireless version of, you know, something like this. Presumably the microphone array is going to be amazing. And they're going to be an unstoppable force, basically. So I'm really excited about it.
Yep.
Great. You guys are super talkative today. I love it. I love it.
I don't know what to talk about with headphones.
You guys
just
really
like-
know how to
Ears and
keep the
I hear
conversation.
Electronics is just like
Podcasts are
wizardry
like
you pay for.
improv, though. When you are prompted with something, whether you know about it or not, you just continue. You just go with the flow. You just go with it.
right.
You know who wears headphones? Our patron producers.
Wow.
Back to you, John.
I have to just totally navigate away from what I wanted to talk about today. But okay, big thank you to our patron producers. By the way, if you like the show, want to support, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch or leave a sub right here, just like Alex Rad and Morai OW have. And become a patron producer if you want as well. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Refine Bean, Ferdino Pin, Battle Crab, Coochie Copy, Lotion, Rex Zane, Audio Compass, Kasha67, Shar Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Fabled Steven, Roger B. Owen, Chris R34444, Horbjorn. I listen to this podcast, listen in the toilet and in the shower, thinking of Yiska and Peace Camper. Bro, we're about there.
Yep.
I'd say so.
Starting to
Feels like
starting
normal.
to not hear it any other way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Agreed.
Podcasts are better than improv because I don't hate podcasts. If you want to do something that everybody would hate, do improv in acapella. That's what you do, I think.
What? What is that?
Right? Because people hate acapella and people hate improv.
Go hate acapella.
I mean, like the
That's the joke.
the generalization, right?
I thought you were gonna say like a improv podcast.
Acaprov. And a podcast would probably be a good one after that. Katie's taking
True.
a birthday phone call right now, so
Oh, happy birthday!
we'll allow it. We'll allow it today.
We will.
Okay. Anyways, how much time did we waste on that? 4 minutes. Oh, we're fine. Let's talk about the stuff. Do we have to talk about Gauntlet?
I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Okay.
Because it kind of feeds into the off season. Because if we think about it, and John, you can fill them in on the details a little bit later, but in essence, the fact that we have a gauntlet does sort of lend itself to almost what the World Cup was in some instances, even though it feels a little bit late because like I think a lot of the roster decisions will already be made, but like to fill up maybe and see the respective talent exhibited will be fun. And then like if you think about it, for instance, I remember, was it 2019 where Uprising had already signed a couple of guys. I think it was Fusions, right? Oh, must have been 18, where they had already signed Fusions, and then he popped off in World Cup. I think something like that was the case. I think we'll also see, in essence, like if you have a team that scouts tier 2 or tier 3 talent, as can now also be part of the Gauntlet, then and they then pop off after like they've already been signed. That's sort of like a way to tell that an organization is doing its homework, right? So in that essence, it's exciting. Of course, there's some limitations to what we're able to do. But yeah, overall, like I love that we have some off-season content, especially because it supports tier 2.
Bench does make, so there's a good question. It's like, I hope pros don't jump to T2 teams just to play. But Bench did offer a clarification that if they're under contract and not on a two-way, they won't be able to play.
Yeah.
Free agency is obviously a different thing. So team players who aren't signed
right
when Gauntlet happens, but are signed afterwards, I guess. But I don't know. We'll see. At the same time, that also would... Overwatch League players playing in tier 2 or former Overwatch League players playing in tier 2 is probably one of the better marketing ploys
want that to happen
for tier 2 Overwatch. There's a lot of viewership draw there. So the question is, you know, what do you want out of tier 2? If you want viewership, I think that's ultimately really good. I think if you want to see how good the tier 2 scene is in being Overwatch League level, I think that's also probably a great instance as well. I mean, obviously you don't just want like half the former Shock team and half the former Fusion team and a couple people from NYXL hopping in, you know, and then just like blowing up contenders. But, you know, teams having a couple of Overwatch League players or former Overwatch League players like is a good thing.
Right.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's only some really extenuating circumstances in which it could be a bad thing. I don't think I would recommend worrying too much about those because they're super unlikely.
Now, what's also exciting is that I think Gauntlet starts on the 28th of November. And if
sounded like a question. Is that a question?
Yeah, I think it is one region that starts then. I think that might actually be North America and Europe, which makes it more exciting because, as we just talked about, you cannot play there unless you're not signed to an Overwatch League team, which implicitly means, for instance, we probably shouldn't expect the entirety of British Hurricane to play in that tournament, right? We probably shouldn't expect like the Contenders Korea teams that we know and are good to show up in those lineups. So we almost have like a hard limit by which we will, by inference, be able to, or by omittance, so to speak, by them not showing up, be able to tell who has been signed, I suppose.
Which is kind of unfortunate too, right? Like you kind of, I in a perfect world, I'd love for this to kind of be placed well in a ways outside of like the signing range so that doesn't happen and you do get like a genuine competition to watch, and it isn't just like, oh well, this team can show up but they don't have this player and this player because, you know, eyes emoji, sloth emoji, whatever, right? It feels jarring in that sense. It also is like, I'm interested to see or at least hear some feedback on the different like additions to the tournament, because it's not just like every region's the same. North America has some sort of 256 team open bracket, which best of luck trying to get that done. South America has a dual tournament format, best of 3 matches, top 3 advance. Asia has its own thing? Like, how do we feel on each region having its own like
Makes sense.
iteration of the tournament? Does it make sense?
Yeah, because like different regions are in different stages in terms of the development, as well as stages of the pandemic or proximity by which ping is playable, right? So,
I mean, does ping matter on having an open qualifier versus like a round robin tournament format? Like, I don't know.
I mean, by having a wider region of more players, that means you can support 265, 256 teams, which is probably not going to happen in smaller regions, right?
For sure. I mean, yeah, I think I get where you're coming from. It's just like, I don't know. Do you really expect? I mean, maybe it's more of a draw. I don't know. It just seems really.
I'll straight up tell you,
clear on why they're doing that.
Do you remember how we got this composition that we played throughout season 2?
Yes.
So having those barriers lowered, and let's be honest, a lot of these open qualifier teams will just be contenders teams that haven't managed to qualify through contenders.
Sure, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's very likely. But the fact that that doesn't have to be the case is kind of sweet. And you have a lot of owl talent already going down. You see like players in advance, because apparently like probably either they knew about what the Gauntlet was going to be, or they heard the news that it was going to be worth teaming up and becoming like something playable for this. Was going to be valuable.
All valuable points. I agree. Do we need 256 barriers dropped though? I feel like this is going to catch more like flack because of like the inherent difficulties of putting on a 256 team tournament open qualifier than it is going to be like to allow more people to get through. Like, I agree. There's probably teams that could compete. It's 256 as a number is maybe big for my estimation, but I don't know. I'm super jazzed about open qualifiers. I think that's like something that esports does really cool and is fun kind of to pepper in, because you do get those storylines. You do get those teams like you're saying with goats and, you know, some of these underdog teams that might get some all talent injections and, you know, could make a run. That's super exciting, but are we going to get 256 of them? I don't know. And I know I'm harping on specifically a number, but it's just like, that's a lot.
I don't want to hear numbers right now, if I'm being honest. This election week, you're like 256. It was like, for who?
14 more.
For who? All right.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Gauntlet, good things. We'll hopefully get some content.
I like the logo this year.
Coming out.
It's nice. It's a little chunky for me, but not that anyone cares. Actually, no, I don't like the Gauntlet logo this year. Or if it is the same logo, I don't like it.
Fair enough.
Huh. Yeah, actually, I really dislike it now that I'm looking at it. I like the Gauntlet part of it. All right, anyways.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, every time I see a logo now these days, every time I have to like look at it. It's like Yiska every time he sees an Aesop fable. Has to be like,
this man cares about graphics in his esports probably as well.
What?
Do you care about the aesthetics, how an esports looks, and don't just conceive of whatever you're watching as geometric spheres bumping into each other?
Overwatch on high or epic.
What?
And aesthetics don't matter to your life. Start uploading yourself immediately. Screw logos. Screw beauty.
Weren't you just talking about improv?
Yeah, but his one improv skill is looking weirdly at the camera, so he's already improvising.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, yes, all that matters. Of course it matters.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it does.
I know you think so.
I know so.
Right. Right.
Here we are, chat.
Until we upload. Okay, keep going.
That's
keep it going.
fine.
Keep
All
going.
right.
Keep going.
Big thanks to our patron producers, Refined Bean for That's what Joe did to get out of the last improv.
Right. True.
Just started naming patron producers. That's what we should do. Instead of using the bleep button, what we should do is set up a button that's a random patron producer.
That's
and so
a great
every time
idea.
you're about to swear, you're like, "Oh, what the fabled Steven?"
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's actually a genius idea. Do you think that would increase the amount of patrons we would have?
We're about to find out. I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
All right,
Just like a
here we
random-
go. Here we go. This is what everybody really cares about. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Fusion, shall we?
Oh, let's go. I
See
wanna
that?
hear.
Some topics just don't need a segue because you just talk about it. Big one here, and we talked quite a bit about NYXL on Monday. Talked a bit about NYXL on Monday. I rightfully, said like Sabiolbi, sure. Jonak, sure. Everybody else, I don't really care. Mano, I don't think you need him. And we have now seen that NYXL feels the same way. And Mano is now a Fugii. What's the plural version of fusion? Is fusion the plural
That is a
version?
great question.
Fugiori?
Fugioni.
That actually, I'm pretty sure, is one of the mob families in The Godfather. The Fugioni.
Yeah.
So
I mean, fits.
It does. Fugioni, Mano. And Sato is rumored right now. Bear in mind, rumored to be staying here. But is Mano the main tank? Like, can Fusion Excelsior improve with Sato out and Mano in? Is that an upgrade?
No. And I don't think that if they that's the one blemish I feel in this roster right now, is that I feel if you don't want to double up, the one role where you probably need to is tank. Because if you look at the top teams last season, then they always had double main tanks in those positions. Shock rotated, Shanghai rotated. Who else? I guess Paris sometimes did. I guess very I mean I'm not sure how much Florida did, but or how often it was possible to play off two off tanks is hard to aggregate that. But I think in general you kind of want two tanks. It just doesn't strike me that this current Sato and Mano, it doesn't feel like that these would be either additive or the type of caliber of players that you want to share time with. So usually it's one definitive starter, world class, just nuts player, and then a specialist dude that just covers the role, right?
Are there?
I think that.
Do you feel like there's any exceptions to that?
If you think Super is different, he isn't.
Oh, by the way, I totally lied about it. So Sato is not rumored to be staying with Philly. I requested in the spreadsheet that we put players who still have their options open but haven't been exercised one way or another differently, and they are classified in close to the same color as what rumors were. So that was my bad. Totally my bad, 100%. So Sato and Poco both don't have their options exercised, but still could be there. We don't know if Sato is planned to stay there or not.
I'll also straight up tell you my juiceless impression of this is that I don't see him staying.
Yeah. Neither do I.
Based on that. Like, I feel like Sato is a high enough caliber tank that you don't want to split time with Mano. Mano is a weird choice, but maybe that's a 9K pick where he thinks like he can bring him back to like the monstrous, clearly best main tank player in the world type of level again. So
can I just here's the story that's a little bit confusing to me on Sato. So rewind 1 year. Christopher's on the show.
Okay.
We're asking him about Sato. Why is he still here? You're making this awesome caliber team.
Right.
And he stands by his players and said, every single one, or close to every single one, or multiple players, I don't want to put that exact amount of words in, stayed and wanted to play with Sato.
Right.
Like they wanted to play with Sato. Sato has an awesome year. And then Philly or Sato goes.
That's
See ya.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I first heard of this move. Like that's exactly the path that the mind travels to. I think that isn't necessarily a discreditation of Sato's skill or of the vision that the team had. I just think that new head coaching brings about new ideas or approaches, and I don't think that's necessarily any qualitative statement in that by just signing someone else. And what I will say is I don't see how Mano is the piece that fits into this team.
Yeah.
But
well, and bear in mind, Ivy, EQO, Fury, all gone from that too. So there are players who, you know, could have been the ones who are really excited to play with Sato who also are no longer with the team either. So,
right.
But yeah, Mano is like, I think from name recognition, I think people get really excited and think that that's the way to go.
Oh,
but,
for sure.
I think as far as performance goes, like I don't know, like Sato. My complaints weren't with Sato with Philadelphia Fusion last year. Not that he played perfectly or anything, but I didn't go, ooh, get rid of Sato. How about Mano?
Yeah.
It is a little bizarre. I think if there are any dissenting voices with Mano, it comes from New York's a little bizarre stint with trying to be a little bit more aggressive last season. Which put him on the receiving end of a lot of first deaths, which obviously, again, you kind of have to take and give main tanks in particular the benefit of the doubt. I agree that Mano is not the name that you'd think the Philadelphia Fusion, you know, this new T1 kind of era going after all these big names. Like, obviously, Mano is a big name. You can't take that away from him, but if there was ever a home for somebody like Mag, who's like the hottest free agent on the market, I assumed he was going to Philly, or they were going to try and make a play for Super. But Mano, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting.
It feels like a last year's Fuel signing where it's like, let's just go for name recognition. Like, let's just get people familiar. Like, you know the name, let's go. Like former Envy, let's go.
Not as much, but yeah, there's definitely something to that. I think Mano's probably still up there in terms of main tanks, but this is going to be a lot of gelling this team has to do. I will say, if this team can get it right,
I think that's also this team is more in flux and will need more changes than probably is currently being perceived. Like we still don't have a flex CPS.
For sure. Flex tank.
I don't think it necessarily means that you resign a player that you necessarily will keep him.
They might still have chips, though.
Yeah. No. Yeah, they kind of parted ways. I think the Fury situation is still not under wraps, as far as I know, right? Like they haven't re-signed him, did they?
Who?
No, he's a free agent.
Fury?
Fury.
Yeah.
Fury
my
still
That's a
listed
big
as free
question mark.
agent. Yep.
I will
So-
say I still have high confidence in based on what I heard about this team and which direction it's going. I think it's currently, for me, Philly has won the offseason.
Yeah. They're definitely leading it with getting somebody like Mano, getting somebody like 9K. That definitely has to swing your praise 100%. I also kind of want to fight this narrative that if they don't somehow re-sign one of their obviously good flex tanks, they're somehow throwing. There's other flex tanks they could be purchasing. There's others. There's so many other options there that we can't just like narrow in on like, oh my God, Fury is good, Poco is good. If they don't re-sign them, then we're done. It's like, that's so short-sighted. That's not how this works. Philly is doing good things. Let them continue to do good things before we jump down their throats, right? So
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like they probably need like 2 or 3 more players, and then it's truly scary what they can do next year.
you don't think it's truly scary right now?
Not without a flex step, yes.
Well, okay, sure.
Right.
If you
Not
you
with
put in
just
like
Mano.
if you put in just like bare average,
Right.
9 CAD coach, you
Right.
have Alarm, you have Funny Astro, you have Carpe, you have all of these players that that already is a semblance or a sign of strength. No, is that not like something that kind of sets you up for success?
Sure. I think now that I think about it, I think they will in total need 4 more signings in order for me to say, okay, they will be the most likely to win the next season. They will need 2 flex DPS. They will need another tank.
Okay.
But I just assume that the
And you're speaking specifically
that Fury
main
is
tank, right?
signed. Yes.
Okay.
And they will need probably another flex support just to cover.
Yeah, if you're going like full on like stupid team, by stupid I mean like good stupid, like super stupid team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you see that happening though? That's a whole lot of money. And T1 and Philly don't mess around when they sign players. They're not like, oh, we'll just,
And
we
do you
don't
think
have like
the teams that are above Philly or were above Philly have made improvements? Like Shanghai? Like
No, I don't
Shock?
think any of these teams
like
will become better.
this is like a
this
bronze.
offseason, yeah.
Like for me, Philly right now is a bronze medal team. I think if I'm just looking at it and trying to parse out how I think I'll do, I think they're a bronze medal team. I think that they're a top 3 team in the league. I really do.
Yeah.
But I can't say confidently like outside. I think Shock are probably still just the best. But like Shanghai, is that silver? Are they gold? Where are they in that? I think that there's, what are we going to see from the Fuel organization on that? Because they're putting together a really stupid, crazy, scary roster.
maybe that's where we're heading next. But I think there's I agree. Philly definitely from the outset, and we have to see what Shock are doing. We have to see what Shanghai are doing. On the outset, Philly kind of is still maintaining that pace where it's like the Shock, we'll see what happens with them, but they should be holding their position. Shanghai, much in the same way domestically. Philly,
I think
still should be.
I think there's a few outstanding teams that have the ability to reasonably create a roster better than this one.
Yep.
I just can't speak specifically to who they are yet.
Just got to see
Could be
it,
Shock.
right? Just gotta happen.
Could be Shanghai. Could be Seoul. Could be Dallas.
I'll say
Could be
the
Florida.
moves that are coming through for Fusion make it a challenge for the other ones.
And it also would make a lot of sense seeing how it is T1.
So you're saying Philly is making more high quality moves?
Yeah. Nuts.
Improv me for a second. Make up who that might be. No, just kidding.
What does their name sound like? Philly looks really good. I'm a little interested to see how far Mano goes. I'd love to see Sato stay, but I really don't see that happening. I'd be hard pressed to think that Philly is really going to build out like a 12-man roster in the age of COVID right now. So, yeah.
What if Philly threw Rascal would be insane. Nero, nice.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's the one kind of blank check owning team that might be able to do
Bianca.
That's also
like
the thing with Nice, right? Like you kind of think that is the boy that they're eventually going to call up.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's a good like backup player, similar to what Hisu was. I don't think he's like the type of just like play all season alarm type of superstar, but still a really solid whole grown talent. Maybe he's too good, and they don't think that can work. And
maybe he's too good to like play under the bench.
Yeah,
and
maybe
wants to actually get starting. Okay.
Like if someone gives you X amount of money for a player, you're unlikely to play for the rest of the season.
You might as
well sell him, right? And also sort of implicitly help the player with that. Have a more happy, like probably will earn more, probably would get to play more. That's what the players want, right? So in those situations, it just makes sense, even though it's painful because they've of course been with this kid for 2-3 years or something.
For sure.
So who is it?
Philly.
Yeah, they're not getting that out of me.
Yeah. All right. Mano and Meko. Back at it. There you go. Okay.
Do you want to touch on the fuel?
We probably should talk about the fuel, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
The Dallas Mystic.
Oh, Dallas now. Dallas, as of, I don't know, it felt like a week ago, was stripped down to just Doha. Right. Everybody else, as far as we know, gone. We've got some signings in now. Dallas has signed Sparkle, Hanbin, Fielder, and Rappel. And I believe, and here's the thing, there is a rumor out there saying Fearless.
Yeah, I'm slowly kind of falling in love with this team. I'm not gonna lie. Slowly but surely. I liked Element Mystic, and I think that's something that the community is definitely latching onto. I'd be kind of impressed if Dallas didn't try to like capitalize on that in some way. Even if they like touched on it in like just social media or just like did some like funny t-shirt that kind of like resembles or like has some sort of like yellow tint to it. I think that'd be kind of cool. But having the coaching staff that brought Element Mystic so much success, having the players, the core, while they haven't finished the roster building process, I really think that this is going to be the turnaround season. I've been hesitant to say that in the past, even so much as like looking at last year and saying, oh, well, they have like these weapons, like they might be able to make like a stab at top 10. This season might be different. We have to kind of see how everybody else like filters out, but these are big moves. This is Dallas 2.0. Genuinely. I think this comes with its own pre-built like culture, and I think that's been a big part of Dallas that's been left wanting, is just like this constant flux of players coming and going every season. I don't see that happening this season, at least not on the outside. These are players that have played together with a coaching staff that's worked with them. I truly do not see too much problems with this. So
yeah, I think.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Hastro did tweet out on November 5th, so just yesterday. He says, I've been staying awake into the morning hours every night for the past 3 weeks to make sure the Dallas Fuel is a top table team next season. nothing is guaranteed, but I feel good about the roster we're bringing together for Rush.
Yep.
So
I really do believe that. It's sad because
why would you
I
need
think
to
they had
stay
good
up
pieces,
until the
but-
late hours unless you were signing Korean players?
Right. I mean, of course. I think like the one thing that also I did an interview with Brenda Sue, newly appointed general manager of the Los Angeles Gladiators, and one thing I took away from that interview is the importance of having a solid support cast surrounding great players, because like players in some areas are not as advanced as maybe people in their age bracket would usually be, just because they of course sacrifice some of those areas. You want to take care of that for them, right? You want to erase obstacles, not just for the players but also for the coaches. You don't want them to worry about anything. You don't want them to spend any time on doing certain things that some teams might want them to do. I will say Dallas is already kind of nicely set up with their office and whatnot. And of course, we will have to see if these are usable till then. I think that at least will probably be the case. And otherwise, you just need to clear obstacles. Yeah, you can still lose by, I don't know, having like visa issues, for instance. That
for sure,
honestly is still a big concern for every team, even if done everything correctly and everything, right? You can lose on logistics. You can lose on, I mean, we saw it with Vancouver not providing great living quarters. There's way to lose this still, right? Like you are out of the blocks in this off season. Like the improvement of this team is unrivaled. Like that's some Shanghai stuff, right? Basically,
it feels like a Shanghai kind of move,
right? So like, don't fall on the finish line. Basically, it's the thing, right?
And if there's a team that needs to kind of get their stuff together in a way, and is willing to kind of put forth the effort and the money and the investment to do so, it feels like it should be Dallas, right? With all of like the glowing praise that Hastro gets and how he treats the players and runs his companies, this feels like a good move. With him, if memory serves me, did he not kind of step down to be a little bit more active with the teams? Right.
Yeah.
This feels like a direct sign that, you know, his hand is working and fixing this stuff up.
Yeah.
I'm really, really bullish on this team.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they've jumped out early. They've cut everybody. They're rebuilding. They're signing cores. Like, there's a lot to be bullish on, but this sets them up for success.
I think like the skepticism is more a general skepticism, because I also do believe like Hastro has the accolades across his organization's career. Like I think 2016 they were the greatest esports organization in terms of like having champions across so many different titles. Generally in other esports they're doing very well. Also, I don't think that necessarily how the first 3 seasons for the Overwatch League went for them were just like mistakes upon mistakes upon mistakes. They just made a couple of very grave ones. And also, let's be honest, we would have all run into that. Season 1, like we were all predicting them to be one of the best teams in the Overwatch League, as we did with Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah.
We just didn't calibrate that the change of the competitive format.
That wasn't the only thing. Like, I mean, there was a lot of managerial missteps by Dallas in season 1.
Right.
That's why Kai got thrown out. Like, literally, got Napoleoned onto an island somewhere. I don't even know where he is anymore. But yes, largely I agree with you. But I think, I mean, I don't know. I think, would you guys agree that the season 1 and probably at least the season 1 Dallas Fuel, it wasn't just like, oh, they were worse than we thought they were. Like, they underperformed. The organization, though, was the root of a lot of that underperformance. And Hastro has, you could say a lot of things about Hastro, but as far as keeping the same formula, he hasn't done. He's changed a ton for that Fuel organization.
Yep,
he did. And I will also say, if you look at the mistakes that they did as an organization, it's like understandable in essence. Because okay, here's the thing. Like, let's look at the mistakes that they made. One mistake was, for instance, just like the destabilizing factor of maybe having the XQC rounds, right? Like,
sure.
But they also gave him repeated chances, as you probably should in that specific instance, right?
Sure.
On the first infliction, to be fair. They trusted long-standing members that brought them multiple championships, including the first ever like American or / European esports team, winning in the South Korea in a reputable league. And like, even if you see differences coming, and even if you have the experience from other esports, knowing that, for instance, let's say the Moscow 5 thing that we keep referencing, where like a team might be very good in a loose tournament structure or short little tournaments, they might not be in a season-long tournaments that requires incremental improvements. Even if you see that, do you really abandon your legacy? You probably don't, right? The grave mistakes we can talk about is opting into long contracts at the end of season 1.
I think that's definitely one of them. I think there is a track record to kind of show that one of Dallas's big missteps within these last 3 seasons has been this weird assumption that you can just plug in players and they'll work. You look at Rascal, Effect to a degree. It didn't seem like that was always going to be a successful thing. Everybody knew that Effect had talent. Everybody knew that Effect was a good player. Was this going to be his forever home? Was this going to be like a long-term fit? Hard to tell. It's definitely suspect, I'd say.
Here's the thing where I sympathize with people, and maybe that's a personal bias, but I feel like if you're giving more chances to people than you should have given, that's a much preferable trade than giving
100%.
too few chances that you should have given someone, right?
Yep.
So,
Sure.
I think in essence, this is a company policy that in many, or like a moral guideline that felt like came from leadership that sadly bit them on several occasions. And I think that is, like, if I'm a fan of the Dallas Fuel, that's not something that I should be overly upset about. And that's that like that very thing is probably not the thing that you should be mad at.
No, I agree. I also kind of, in a way, I wonder how somebody from like their management would take that being said to them, if that makes sense. Or it's just like, do we want to be known for being the nice guys? Like, it's
the
probably
land
something.
Of third chances.
Yeah, it feels.
They are, though.
They are. But is that something that they want? Is that, like, of course you want to treat people with respect and, you know, try to help them find their new homes and whatnot. And that's all very commendable. But is that going to pay the bills? Is that going to, you know, do what needs to be done for this team to see them succeed?
If they would communicate it like Yiska just communicated, yes.
Sure. And there have been, you know, instances where that kind of falls through for whatever reason. I you know, to be completely transparent there, I look at like how Decay was handled. Again, messy situation. I get it. Tension's high. I look
Is that
at how
different? Then, like, I feel like DK was giving way more chances than he would have gotten at other teams.
I agree. I think just the exit strategy was where I was like, oh, that feels a little pointed. Oh, that feels a little weird. I go back to Rascal in the same light where it's just like, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't the best situation. Maybe he was given multiple chances. Just how it was handled on the way out maybe could turn people's attention away from all of these like assumed extra chances, because that what they see in the public's eye is so like pointed and like, dang, we're letting you go, effective immediately. You know, all of these kind of like very weird words, because we know that they do get a lot of chances. We know that they want to help these players, but then the public sees pointed statements and kind of harsh language, and I think that paints them in a different light than what I think we know the Dallas Fuel to be.
So, well, and that's kind of the weird thing, right? Is that there's a public perception and a private conversation going on with almost all of these things. Even Dream has said, or sorry, not Dream, Bench said, good players want to play for Dallas every year. And since season 1, stage 2, I genuinely believe that. I think that, you know, there's how do you say it? There's this perception as fans, and again, if you don't give your fan base, or not even your fan base, just give Overwatch League spectators access to information, they're forced to draw their own conclusions. In a perfect world, you could say if they don't have enough information, they don't draw conclusions. That would be ideal, right? But instead, it's you draw the conclusion you can with the information you have. Dallas has, and I think that if I would fault Hastro for one thing, it's that his transparency hasn't been consistent enough and in the right mediums.
I also say, like, he takes a lot of abuse probably for too long, and then he has that bubble up, and when he actually interacts with the public, it always comes off as if he's the bad guy when he really should be.
Totally agree. And that's why I mentioned the timing of it. It's just like there's this kind of, I don't blame Hastro at all, because as long as he's doing his job, getting the job done on his side, like, it doesn't matter what Joe Esports like thinks about the decisions that he's making. In fact, there's arguments that, you know, that perception just gets hurt anyway. So shut up and just, you know, run the business and let people keep buying those XQC jerseys. But there's, like, you know, I would like to see more of that from him. I think that I would like to see, because I do think that Hastro does model a really strong GM in the league. And I think that he's gotten an unfair shake in some circumstances. I think some of it was out of his control, but there was also some stuff too where I was just like, why didn't you say this 3 years ago? Why didn't you do this then? Why am I finding this out via a tweet and only a tweet? Why am I finding this out via a 30-second clip on Reddit on a podcast that nobody has listened to, or from your local radio station? Like, that's not, you've got to be canvassing your message as a GM. And I think that a lot of, and Hastro isn't the only one, but I think a lot of different franchises in the Overwatch League have struggled with canvassing a consistent, coherent message. And I think that has kind of worked. I think it's honestly worked for some really well, and I think it's worked for some actually really poorly. And I think Dallas Fuel are the ones that are on the very, very, you know, the low end of where they've gotten really bit in the butt by that.
I think that's the thing, is I think they've tried and they've gotten bit by it. I think they've tried to make a coherent team that people can kind of always like. I think Dallas wanted to be the show that has all the same characters and all the same player or character actors. You can show up, so you have always something to kind of tune into that has like a through line. But they were just out of date, right? Like, the players didn't want to be there anymore, or, you know, they lost passion, or they lost a driver, you know, whatever happened. I think they tried to go too long form in what feels like an industry that you kind of can't yet. It almost feels not short-sighted, but in a way it's weird. I don't know. But
I mean, you can go long-term. You cannot just not go long-term based on the
I think it's really hard
on the indication. Like, you can sign Kape for 3 years. I don't
right. I think it's you have to find outliers, and I think they thought they did, but it was with super old information, right? It was like, well, we won Apex Season 1, these guys must be special. And I don't doubt that conversation was had in Envy in Dallas Fuel Camp, right? I don't know if that was up to date enough to be like, okay, these are still the outliers that we can sign to multi-year contracts. But
yeah,
we'll
I think
pause with a few.
some
that
red
did
romanticizing.
bite them in the butt. Yeah, that did
for sure.
And again, that's one of the things where it's just like that is something that Astro has to own.
Yep.
That was the
It's also-
sale. That has to be the sale, is we have the best Western roster by far. Nobody comes close. People are investing big and long-term in Overwatch League, invest big and long-term in these players, and
Yep.
Envy did, and it did not go well.
I mean, that's the thing. It's also a high risk, high reward play, I feel, because if you actually, and I don't think the information that they had was too high risk, but if that roster actually pops off, they have years ahead of branding and brand recognition of every other roster in the Overwatch League. They have a pretty sweet content team.
They're still
They
top
have the
third.
setup there.
Yeah, they're a top.
Right. Yeah.
In the Overwatch
still
League,
think
they're a
that
top
strategy-
third team. It's still, even with a poorly performing team, just on name recognition alone and bringing in XQC and Seagull.
Yep. That'll carry them for years. This will be the team that they kind of built without really touching it.
I bet you if you went to Fanatics or whoever was selling them in season 1, what was it?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh man. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Anyways, they had another company that was selling jerseys season 1. In the AM, between the AM, something like that. Into the AM did season 1 jerseys. I would bet you if you like combined all those things, I bet you XQC and Seagull are still in like the top 50 jerseys ever sold in Overwatch League, even now today.
Yeah,
right.
Probably.
So yeah, results wise, they lost that gamble, but it's still a really safe gamble just from a marketing, fan base building perspective. So, yeah. Anyways. We did just get some breaking news.
I do want to return to the fuel at some point, but we do need to talk about
Sure.
the news.
Breaking news is the Toronto Defiant at 4:13 p.m. Eastern time on a Friday have announced that they are going to be re-signing Beast or welcoming Beast back for the 2021 season pending league approval. So far, the confirmed Defiant roster: KDG is the head coach, Logix, and Beast.
Right. Okay. So I understand how this looks, right? Like Logix is not the best player in the world, and neither
but he's
is
not
Beast.
bad.
Yeah.
Neither is he bad, right? It's just.
But the messaging of this, yes, that is exactly. And I tell you, it isn't what it looks like. Like, I don't think this guy is necessarily signed to be a starting main tank for the Defiant next year, right?
I agree.
Okay, walk me through that thought process.
What do you mean?
Why do you think that Beast won't be a starting main tank right now, off of what you can see?
What I can see, I can't reason that. I'm telling you that's not going to happen. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
At least from the information that I have on this team. And
not asking for sources. I'm just like
right.
I would bet.
No, my point is I understand, and I'm not sure if they're aware of their messaging, or if they even should care, or if they want, like, maybe I kind of took their surprise, but like I don't think that's necessarily representative of the rest, because as it looks right now, this is like, if you sign Beast and I already have Logix and nobody else, this is going towards like Boston, Valiant, London territory of signing
maybe
strategy.
the latter half of those teams. Yeah.
I don't think that's what they're going to pursue.
Interesting. Very bizarre. Not in a bad way, but okay, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think Beast is bad by any means. I think he could I think it would have been weird to not see him in League in 2021, especially with
Right.
a lot of teams shifting more Western.
Did not.
I kind of
Yeah.
saw him going to Houston in a way. Where it's like, okay, you've kind of verbally at least let on that you want to go kind of Western leaning. Guy's doing well, has done well in the past.
I
Pick him
think
up.
Beast is doing well. Did
Yeah,
well in the
contenders.
past. Oh, like
I'd say so.
the past, not like
Fusion
the
University.
league he's playing it in the past.
I mean, he barely played.
Yeah.
Which could mean a few things. One of those things being that he didn't play well compared to his counterparts, but
Right.
Look, there's a lot of duck goose going on, right?
Sure.
how big are the geese?
I agree.
Duck, big
Yeah,
goose. Is that
Like the connection is obviously with Glitch and Beast, right?
and big goose
agree.
to Defiant confirmed? Got it.
No. And yeah, that's just I think they have a known entity there because of course he also was on the roster before. So I don't know. I understand. I also am surprised by this, but not overly so.
Can I'm annoying because this is the only thing that I bring to the show. But if I'm announcing a 2021 roster for the Toronto Defiant, who severely underperformed expectations in 2020,
Right?
I am not, even if I signed Logix and Beast the first, I am not announcing them first. I am not announcing them in that order.
It's not the greatest order of operation. I'll tell you straight up.
I am not announcing it in that order. That is just dangerous.
Maybe you
do.
just don't want to get leaked on or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
I would prefer that somebody leaked a Beast so I don't have to announce it right now.
Jesus Christ, dude.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I disagree big time.
Yeah,
Well,
no, you're not
I
giving
mean,
people an inch. That's what you do.
Jokes,
Every other organization
jokes
take note.
aside, but I don't think that it is correct to announce a player as soon as the ink is wet. Like it's or announce a player when the ink is wet. Just come up with a plan. It doesn't count. It doesn't cost anything to come up with a plan to do that.
For all we know, this is actually a hugely beloved player by the player base, has sick jersey sales, and the actual fans pick it up for.
I mean, for
I wouldn't
all
go
we know,
that far,
ice
but I
cream
think
takes
he's
like
definitely. I think he has
tar.
stock with the fan base.
I think he's one of the better $50,000 investments Toronto Defiant can make with minimal time investment. Is that too harsh? Is that too harsh?
It could be a little
bit, but maybe.
a little filed down, but I don't think the messaging is that undeserved. I think it kind of goes back to, I think if a Western team that is leaning Western wanted to pick up a main tank, I think Beast has to be in that discussion. I think he's definitely up there and is doing well, has done well, deserves a shot, deserves to kind of not be built around, but be included into a core or be one of the foundational pieces to a new core that is being built. If he's, it feels like a waste, not a waste of talent, but I'd love to see him on like a Valiant. I'd love to see him on like a Houston if they do decide to go Western. This all kind of opens up another question, like, what's Numlock to do? Like, is he going to get another chance? Another one of those main tanks. It's like, okay, if you're going Western, you can't not look at him. Yeah, just kind of weird. I'm interested to see what this roster looks like, especially with the conversation we just had.
Yeah, and I'm browsing the Reddit comments, and they all are already saying like, I thought KDG meant making a decent team. Like, looks like Logix will have to hard carry again. Just chill, bro.
I don't
just
think Beast is gonna
once.
start.
I'm so sick of these, dude. And then these roster like rumors like Kev's such go to shock that some bum posted on DC Inside or something, got one thing right, just guessed into the dark 7 times. Oh my God, he hit once. Like, come on, guys. I'm so sick of you.
So,
Jesus Christ, you
here's
energy
the thing.
thieves.
And again, like Reddit has a one-track mind, and it's, oh, you signed a player, so let's talk about that roster as if that player is starting.
Yeah.
And again, this is what's wrong with the cadence of announcements for Toronto. Again, they might come up with a bomb roster and they have Beast just kind of, hanging out, warming up with the B team. That's, I think, a totally valid strategy here. He's got decent depth, semi-reliable. He didn't play super well, but he didn't have peaks and valleys in that. I think you're going to know what you're going to get from him in that.
Mm.
But Yiska was right. One of the first things he says is this is probably not a tank that's going to start or be a regular starter for the team. And if KDG comes in and that's their starter, then yes, I think that those comments are funny and valid.
Every single comment is like this in this thread, dude. Like, you're being like, just unfair to the kid. Because obviously a quality coach as KDG sees something in this kid.
Yeah.
So, like, there you should put some authority on that. And then, like, just don't overreact. There's 2 players signed, dude. That doesn't constitute a trend. Like, you keep Logics because he's
just
really
good.
Serviceable and probably your franchise player at this point. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, dude, I'm already.
And that's where I think me and Yiska specifically are at odds, because I'd love for this team to just go fully Western. Like, take Logics, take Beast, and make a Western team that's like good. I think there's definitely pieces to both go kind of the London Spitfire route, where it's just like you can take a budget and make it work in the West. I think the market there is still like wide open. You can still make like a playoff team with Western players right now. And it's for me, because I'm very much like single language. Let's remove all the barriers. Yes, I agree. In the long term, mixed rosters are probably the way to go, but I don't think we're there yet. Just across the board, I don't think we could just plug in players and just like make them work. I'd love for them just to go Western and just leave it at that.
Then you're mediocre, dude.
I don't think that that's necessarily all that bad. Mediocre isn't a bad thing. You think?
Sure, but why do it? Like, if you already have a Korean speaking,
because I don't
head
have
coach.
them. Sure, I agree. Like, that's, that's pointing you in a direction, right? That's why I think I agree with you that the messaging is so split, where it's like, okay, we have a Korean head coach, good coaching staff under them. Here are the players that we're announcing. It's like, okay, something doesn't add up. And I agree with you that, like, maybe he isn't starting, but it's like, okay, if he's not starting, then where else are we headed? Because it doesn't, I don't know, doesn't make sense yet. It's not a bad thing.
Baroy!
It's just, there's a crossroads.
Oh.
Baroy!
Justify yourself.
Get in here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. They'll learn. They'll live, they'll learn. They won't. I'll get mad. I'll die of hypertension. The world goes on.
Hopefully the mediocre comment, you get what I mean. You can have a multi-year plan involving a strong but not championship winning base. I think you can build on top of it and take it year by year. And I hope that some teams start to do that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I
Toronto's
don't want to
not that
be,
lucky.
and this is again, right? When we are talking about players and what they put together and stuff, we use terms like mediocre or whatever else. Like, we're not. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like a pitcher is bad in the major leagues. You go, oh yeah, he's bad. Obviously, he's way better than 99.95% of the field. Like, Beast by so many measures is not a bad tank, but compared to some of the tanks,
his peers,
in peers, I mean, look at these free agents right now that we just have from this list. Muse, super, Bumper, Gaga, Hottie, OGE, Numlocked, Yakpung, Karayan, Celeri, Pokebo, Jimmy Macaroons. And like once you get to Jimmy Macaroons, that's where I start talking about like, okay, let's make the case for Beast because for reasons. But like you get like there's very competitive. There are competitive names in that space, and that doesn't mean number one that he's the starting tank for that space. But it also doesn't mean that just because these people are like better, doesn't mean that they're the right fit for Toronto either. And Toronto has been one of the few very unique teams, I think, in how they've built their rosters. There's and I do like this is bias. Like I should change the Yiska interviews to Baroy interviews and put it under my camera because I do think a lot of this has to do with Baroy. I do think that a lot of their statistical analysis, I think a lot of the numbers that they're pulling in, well, I don't think that the process has been perfect for them, obviously, given last year's results. I think that Toronto has kind of shown some level of confidence and figure it out. You've got some time. And we might see, I think, a roster that I think outperforms our expectations. And if somebody is going to do that, I think it's in Toronto.
And that's why I'd love them if they were going to go that route to do the multi-year. But again, maybe with the climate of the world, it's difficult to do that. COVID kind of definitely threw a wrench in anybody's plans. Maybe those plans got squashed and they have to kind of redo them. I really enjoy a world where Roy gets to tinker with the entire roster for 3 years and has 3 years to build a deep playoff running team. And you have to start small. You start with a core, you find your core, you build on top of it, and you build on top of it again. I think you can land very well in 3 years. I don't think it takes that long in this. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't take you that long, but with a lot of work and a lot of investment, I think you can get there. And it doesn't seem like teams either want to or are so disenfranchised at the moment that they find it difficult to. I don't know. I'm not, this is no critique on Toronto in the slightest. And I know that it comes across that way. It's just, I can't picture where this is going just yet.
I'll just straight up tell you, they have signed bomb players, in my opinion.
Good. Fantastic.
Calm down. Like, real talk.
Yeah. So the KDG comment isn't completely taken out of context. They have done good things, is what he's telling you. Which is good. I think that's a good thing. We'll just have to wait and see what those bomb players are, or who those bomb players are, and we'll get hopefully another good team. Because again, looping back to Dallas, looping back to a team like Florida, which I wrote about recently, we're starting to get some absolute banger franchises. Very few teams are just bye weeks now. We'll see how the rest of the offseason kind of filters out, but we're starting to get to a pretty high level of Overwatch week by week, and it's just going to be bangers.
Yeah.
Like the Dallas Fuel isn't just fucking sleepers anymore, right? Like they're coming out. They're signing the Element Mystic Core, who again doesn't or should not be looked at somehow poorly because of, Paris didn't want him. No, that's not what happened. You're not reading the room. You're not even reading the things that are out publicly. There's so many good franchises out right now, and credit to whoever's doing it, whatever puppet master is pulling these strings to finally get to where we are. I'm so excited for 2021. There are things that I hope change. Don't get me wrong. I always want to keep polishing this up, but there's a lot of good things coming.
Yeah.
A lot of good things with Dallas, a lot of good things with Florida. I think Shanghai did.
It's probably not going to be the case that they can hang with the top 5, just because like these rosters they are currently forming are actually like they would have been super teams in season 1. Like Philly's nuts, Shock is always nuts, Dallas is going to be great. I think Gladiators would have to be counted among them. Certainly the Justice.
Weird.
Speak of the justice.
Two
like, come
days after
on.
the Bisa interview, Yiska's high on the Gladiators. What do you know?
Yeah, I wasn't juiced up there.
I'm
if
just
that's what
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I always just
Yeah.
joke about you shelling out for teams that you just interview.
Oh,
Reduce your
I mean,
credibility.
it works. It definitely
then it
works
gets
if
you-
someone demonstrates competence to me in an interview, which
Can
I
I
definitely.
can I ask you a genuine question? And you don't have to
Right.
name any names at all.
Right.
Have you had
Okay.
an interview in the Overwatch League with anybody, yes, where you left with less confidence than you
Yes.
walked in with?
Yes.
All right. Just across the board.
Yeah.
What percentage?
that-
What percentage of those is like just one conversation, or has there been like 3 out of 100?
Yeah. 3 out of 10 would be where I have less confidence about
Okay.
people once. Yeah. Or about the
Can
same
you-
I had before.
Can you tell us?
No,
Okay.
that wouldn't
I
be.
don't know. I get it. I
That
was
wouldn't
trying to
be.
think of like,
Yeah.
did anyone leave the scene or anything? Where you
Yeah,
could say that?
we're not. This feels like an episode of like what's that thing that? Now I don't know the host's
Can
name,
you
but
describe it?
there's this like larger guy night show host that just eats disgusting things with guests. Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts with James Corden.
Oh, okay.
I
sure.
have been
And-
compared to James Corden multiple times.
I can see it. Can you sing?
No.
But he immediately looks like this going so like, can some button help me
I
here?
mean, like,
Can a
no.
button sing?
Yeah.
All right, T-Pain. But yeah, like look, it happens. It
Neither
happens
can
significantly
James
less
Corden.
than you would think.
Hmm.
I think generally the level of talent of people that work in the Overwatch League is incredibly high, and almost always like people that actually made it through several seasons are either impressive as con artists or impressive as actual workers
As people.
within the scene.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that's the general like feeling across esports as a whole, is that like we're definitely getting more good people in better positions. And I think you can definitely tell, specifically in the Overwatch League, with the trajectory of multiple franchises that have just really been bye weeks, that we're starting to get good people in good positions, at least from the outset. We'll see
Yep.
how 2021 filters out, but
That's
things
good.
are on the up.
And
And
I
up.
think it's also
Good
natural.
things.
I mean, we know how we know how we have working models of how like early esports scenes are kind of made. And they're made by the people who are in them, who maybe weren't the most qualified, but who were in them early and kind of built a base, built the right relationships. And, you know, I think now those relationships that might have brought people in earlier, I think have kind of fallen off. And now we're able to actually look at track records and results and like first party interviews with players and coworkers. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I had to be really intentional with how I said that. That was kind of weird. Okay. Do you want to go back to?
I'll also
yeah.
say there's just like sometimes you meet people where you just feel like, wow, there's something going on. Like for instance, Arnold left a strong impression on me after we had him on Crouch. That was just like, yes. Are we still like on the same plane of existence? Like, yeah.
You did
super
change
smart.
your name in Yiskor to Arnold Stan
Stan.
for
Right.
a few
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah. So
If you're listening to this, Arnold, I'll be in your DM shortly.
right.
you gonna go? Are you gonna go?
No, nobody's lazy today. No laziness around here. I don't have my
I was gonna
lazy
say,
radar.
are you gonna go
That
Cautious
broke.
67 all over Profit right now? Or
We took the lazy radar, out back, and that's gone. That's gone. So for other reasons. So
yeah. All right. Well, we want them back soon, so start sharpening the teeth, yes, Joe.
that's part of it.
Start
That's definitely part of
Getting
it.
the fangs ready. Okay.
Do Do we want to loop back to Dallas?
Let's loop back to Dallas, and then we can call it.
Right.
Any last thoughts on that? I think in general, in terms of like almost like a franchise history, because I think that this has been like a big Dallas turnaround. I think that this is one of the Shanghais of this season, one of the Parises of this season, where you're taking this base and you're really kind of flipping it on its head in a very, very big way, in a positive way.
Right.
When you look at the culture that this team has had, it's been poor to say it bluntly.
Right.
When you look at some of the historic absences on this team, if we go back to Team Envious in Apex, what was the big thing that they were missing for a long time?
Sorry?
Anybody in chat? Any old Team Envious fans recall one of the big pieces that they were missing for a long time, and a reason why they were very unsuccessful in some of the later seasons of Apex? I would agree that leadership's one of them, but think a little bit more basic.
After Internet Talk, I think.
Are you talking about like a specific role?
Yes.
Like a main tank?
Tracer
like
player, definitely filled by effect later on.
Like,
think a little bit more basic.
Effect Envious. Not main
Even
tank?
post, I'd say. Even post.
Like, I think Coco is weak, but...
Yeah, not the best. I think there's a specific lack of flex DPS. Like a true flex DPS has been consistently missing from this team for a long time.
Yeah, they make a good point. Yeah, that was...
Effect is good. Yeah. Effect was a great Tracer player. Could splash, in flex. Some projectile here, some Zarya there, some Doomfist here. Could play it, but maybe not the best at it. Tracer specialist, Tracer god, let's say, right? Hit scan, very, very good. This team for a long time has needed a flex DPS, and look at who they have on this roster now. Arguably one of the rookies from last season that if he played the entire season could have won Rookie of the Year. You stack on top of that the culture. You stack on top of that the leadership, like Yiska said. You stack on top of working core. How can you not fall in love with this team? How can you not?
But there's nothing here that like draws me to that Envious. Like I love that, yes, that old roster had a horrible
That's what I'm saying.
DPS,
look at the growth.
And then they just
I'm not saying
everything.
You should tie it to Envious.
I guess I don't follow.
That's fine. It's not specifically tied to Envious. It's the growth from that point and looking all of the historic absences and why this roster right now fills it in.
It's Ryder's brain. He's currently thinking of some Nordic mythical creature where the analogy currently doesn't work. But if that one thing falls into place, then Teldrassil can once again
there's no Yggdrasil, there's no mythology here. It's looking at absences in this franchise, in this team as a whole, across Overwatch history, and why this on the outset seems to fill all those gaps, seems to check all those boxes that they haven't been able to check before, and they haven't even finished yet. I think this is a team that has it.
Okay, that's a fair question, by the way, from chat. Yiska, can you help me understand why Fielder and Repel? Well, first off, there's of course the underlying connection that these guys had. I think we still haven't seen Fielder on non-ping.
Hope he doesn't get worse.
I think generally a lot of people hold Repel in higher regards than he was necessarily able to show in the teams that he's played in. Also, because either he was clearly the worst choice because you can't get past Twilight, or what are you talking about, guys? That would be hilarious. Okay,
I think that was more towards John's comment of imagine if he got worse off of ping.
Right. Right. Makes sense. And I think he's a really solid backup, and you can also divide roles very well. It doesn't necessarily mean that as roles currently fall, that necessarily needs to be the case within the next 6 months, right? I think they have a lot of time to prepare. So
also look at the meta. look at the recent metas that we've gotten where it has been double flex support. You need, I think it's now becoming an important part of team building to have these deep specific positions where you need to have them, because we've seen multiple instances where you don't have to have them, but it's very beneficial to have extra flex supports, or it's beneficial to have extra hit scan, right?
Yeah. But man, you really need like a banger main support in this. You need a good one.
I agree. I think there's definitely there's a few on the market that definitely could fit.
Let's take a look at the list, shall we?
Start rattling them off. I think there's quite a few.
Moth.
That I wouldn't be mad at. Boom.
Slime.
Well, would be a little weird. Oh, come on.
Toby.
I'm okay with that.
Jexa and Repel back again.
Jexa, are you kidding me?
Chara.
Come on.
Dredro. Super
Probably
Rich.
not.
Neptuno. Unique.
Probably not.
Fire.
Okay with it.
Mandu.
Bondu for sure.
Arc.
Yeah.
Arc. I'm not mad at Arc. Arc could fit. I think there's better.
Guys, if D-God makes, I don't know you want to go hybrid with this. I think they're firmly just like
there again. We said the same thing with Paris.
Okay, we got trolled. Got trolled. Jesus Christ.
I won't pull another Paris, right? Where it's like, this should be a fully Korean roster, even though that's how they're leaning. They've done it before, right? I wouldn't be shocked. Would not be shocked. But I'd love to see Jexa, reunite with the former team. I'd love to see Arc wasn't bad. Toby wasn't bad. Slime's super cool. Like, there's a lot of room for this team to kind of fill out and be a power ranking leader in a way. Like an A+ team. If you're looking at like S is the best, I think they have the potential to be very, very good. Top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of free agents in terms of DPS to fill out with. Like, Dallas is, I think they're doing it right. I think this is a big turnaround season for them.
They don't have a main tank though.
It's true. All
right.
Somebody get my boy Muse a contract. That's all I'm saying. Till he gets one.
Super, Bumper, Gaga, Hottie, OG, Numlock, Yakpung, Karayan, Salieri,
Karayan, I've been,
Pokebo, and Jimmy Macaroons.
I still want to pick people's brains on J-Mac. I am genuinely interested to see why there was so much like, I thought he was good.
We already talked about Fearless before, guys. It is rumored.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it's not final.
Also ties back into the Element Mystic. A lot of people forget.
Right. Fearless is 90% done from the well-known Overwatch League analyst Kilvin. Just busting your chops, bro. It's okay.
If you wanted to keep on the Element Mystic train, couldn't you get theoretically Vesta?
You could get Vesta. You could get. I was hoping you were just going to leave that blank and let people figure that out. But you could. You definitely could. I think that would, again, slot in really well. You have Doha being like the kind of staple. You have Vesta coming in to be your dedicated hit scan. Already set you up for success.
Yeah. I think a hit scan will also be needed. What do we have in the hit scan list?
DM's open.
DM. So this is just our I think DM Happy, BQB, Dia, Nene, Onigon, Ace, Innovation, Sparker, Stitch, Merit, Perfect.
Ooh, you know who's actually low key? You're talking about low key? Somebody needs to get my boy Merit a contract.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. I
think with a good coaching staff, he can be an absolute star in about a year.
Someone needs to juice me up whatever happened with Nene, because in my mind he was striker level.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand. Someone needs to help me understand. I really don't. Maybe I should research that. But
good point. Sparker turns 18 on June 10th.
Nene should have been like an absolute talent coming into the season. I think his stocks are a lot lower, and I don't know why.
By
I
the
don't know
way,
if it's because he hasn't started.
I just need to say this. So like the list I'm pulling from right now, because we've got some contributors that we're going to end up like flipping between throughout the off season. We don't have that right now. So what we're doing is we're taking an average from Discord. So basically people in the Yiska Discord were able to fill out kind of some power rankings of who they felt were there. And then we aggregated them. Me personally, definitely not Eric and Lilac, definitely just me. We aggregated and averaged them, put them together into this list. So if you're wondering, like, why is this person so high? Why is this person so low? It's because, well, some stupid people actually ranked things too. But overall, it's a pretty good list of names for a top 10, even if it's not necessarily in your favorite order.
Yeah,
but you can be a part of that by going to Discord. Discord.me/Yiska out if you want.
Dallas with Glister.
Dude, real talk. Like, if they get Glister, you Americans will forever have a sight at the horizon pointing towards east, because I will be able to be seen from space. It will arouse me this much.
Brain. How is I writer brain and you're talking about a massive mountain of an erection?
You didn't have to spell it out. I was about to say something about gigantic asparagus or something.
Yeah, okay,
come on, dude.
Sure. Yeah, because your go-to in terms of punchline always involves, weirdly tasting vegetables, of course.
I mean, it's like I could have spun it into like the what's the fairy tale thing with the bean
Jack and the Beanstalk
thing. Beanstalk, yeah,
and that has what to do with asparagus?
I could have spun it around there before you just robbed me of the ability to make this PC.
Yeah.
Yes, that has always been a motivation for
Yiska
Yiska
staple.
On the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Make it a PC. Yiska and the Beanstalk.
Yep.
It is taking. Notice how as soon as we started talking about this, I started playing the outro music.
I mean, it's a good spot. It's a good. I think it's a good note.
We're done here. This has gone on far enough. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you don't mind us doing a Friday episode. I can tell that all 71 of you right now are really upset about it. Thanks for hanging out for episode 146. Big thank you to our Patreon producers: Refine Bean, Ferdino Pin, Battle Crab, Coochie Copy, Lotion, Rex Zane, Audio Compass, Kasha67, Sharp, Picasso, Nathan, Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Fables Even, Roger B, and Chris R34444, Horbjorn. I listen to the podcast while on the toilet and the shower thinking of Yiska and Peace Camper. If you like the show, please go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We bring you hours and hours of Jack and the Beanstalk references every week for free, and we're happy to do that. But if you're like, you know what? Happy holidays, Tactical Crouch. Go to patreon.com/Tactical Crouch. Super easy to sign up. Support the show. $1, $2, $5, doesn't matter. We really appreciate everybody who supports the show. Another great way to support the show is to subscribe right here at twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. You know what? Yiska, who do we got for new subs today?
You're going to do me like that now, dude? I already closed the tab and everything. I can't even shift tab.
Get Roger Bead.
Here's how I save it. I just tell people that with Control-Shift-T, you can reopen tabs if you haven't closed the tab window yet. So you learn something. Directly, I get to segue into thanking the subs and resubs. Moira LW, Golo Bor Overwatch, and a gifted sub by Alexis. Alex is rad. Alex is rad.
I guess it could be both ways. Yeah.
Could be Alexis Rad, like a porn star that just follows the way we talk about Beanstalk.
Back. Yeah. All right. Anywho. Anyways.
Play the outro louder, please.
And then Joe, can you tell us who gave us 5-star iTunes reviews?
I sure can. Nobody.
Hey, this is what it looks
And
like.
that's why you should, because it helps us with discoverability. And if you can't donate or sub to the Patreon, that's a free way you can help support the show. So definitely, if you want, a shout out, if you want me to say funny name, haha, funny name, put it in. Let us know. I'll say whatever. And within reason. Before I sign my soul away.
Try my best to keep Joe and Yiska on their toes.
I always have my notes open. Thank you.
Always.
Okay, maybe not in the past. Maybe not in the past.
Always, as in
just close my browser
45
window,
seconds
dude.
ago?
It's just being done dirty.
It's open in front of my face right now.
I don't know why you'd close your browser window at the end of a show.
It's true.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But then again, you're listening to the show. A lot of things don't make a lot of sense on this show. So I guess it's kind of par for the course. Big thank you to everybody. Again, you can follow me everywhere at Kickedtripod. Twitch.tv/Kickedtripod is where we record the show live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and apparently whenever the we feel like. So follow Twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. Turn on those push notifications, and I always put in the push notification what is being streamed on this channel, because some people are like, John, I hate you, but I like the shows. So I make sure to let people know that it's a show. And not like me just playing TFT or WoW or Apex or Among Us or whatever. So I try not to do you dirty that way. And then you can also find me on YouTube, twitch.tv/Kickedtripod YT. Nothing coming on this week though, so nothing super exciting. Joe, shout outs for the weekend, and where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Content coming out soon. Another one of those fun feeling pieces that I'm enjoying writing, so check that out sometime soon. But I will kind of hijack this, and if you have any opinions on what our game night content should be, and if you're not up to date with that, I kind of am toying around with the idea of taking maybe 1 or 2 game nights out of the year and making them into watch parties for some, fun esports content that might not necessarily be Overwatch related. So if you want to, tune into that, if you want to participate, if you have any suggestions, opinions on that, get in the Discord and let us know. And I'll lock these guys down to a game night sometime soon, and we'll get to watching a movie or two. Right?
I think that's a great idea. I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
Yiska, shout outs for the week. Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
As always on GG Recon, I had a dope interview, as I referenced this episode, with Brenda Sue. Like, if you're a Gladiators fan and you're kind of concerned what's happening next season, I think that will most likely cure your anxieties about it, because you're in good hands. Also, I wrote something stupid for Saturday, so look forward to that.
It's another one of those crystal ball ones.
It isn't really about leaks. It's more like a conceptual piece that I try to.
So I will say that one was about leaks.
It's a no comment. It's a it's about the 4 horsemen of the roster building apocalypse.
Will you find a way to slide my last name into that article?
Horstman.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. It's pretty close, right? Are you one of the? You would come riding on a kitten though, or on Choji. Alternatively,
more likely on Choji. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to do your writing for you, but that seemed really obvious to me. So I feel like I should be featured in your articles more often. Is all I'm saying.
Right.
Actually, both of you. I think.
I mean,
should be featured in your articles.
We do product reviews.
Do you now?
We do.
Oh, I get what you're saying. All right, chat, we're out of here. Are we playing a few rounds of something?
We could.
If there's people.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna stick around afterward, play some games. Who knows what it's gonna be? Happy birthday, babe! Enjoy your new socks. I didn't buy her new socks. She bought herself new socks for her birthday.
I don't know why, dude, but my brain, when you scream babe, My brain was going to a different world. I was internally already terrified.
Babe.
We'll talk about it later. Please shut it off.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm in weekend mode so badly, dude.
All right.
Keep going.
Yep.
Chat, thanks again for hanging out with us. Patreon.com/tacticalcrouch, Twitter.com/tactical_crouch, and YouTube.com/tacticalcrouch. We'll see you shortly after the music if you want to hang out for some games. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday probably for the next one. Bye.